Hi, I'm Andy from All Terrain Cycles. I'm here today to talk to you about the different types of forks available on the market today, be it a short travel 100mm fork you're after, or something a little bigger hitting. We'll go through what's available, all the different features, and hopefully we'll be able to find the right fork for you. First thing you need to ask is, do you want a coil fork or an air fork? We'll start with coil. Coil forks come with coil spring on the left hand leg, and then you've got your rebound, your compression or your lockout systems on the right hand leg. Coil springs are very supple through the travel, they tend to pick up the small bumps very well. The downside is they do weigh a bit more and they're not quite as adjustable as an air fork. If you are over a set weight, sometimes you do need to change the springs in the legs, so you do need to take that into consideration when purchasing. You tend to find that most coil forks are either on the cheaper end of the scale, like these Rockshox units I've got in my hand, or the more expensive ones such as the longer travel downhill forks. Most downhill forks tend to come with a coil, very rarely do you find an air fork. Now we'll go on to air forks. Air forks are the most widely used fork, from 100mm travel cross country bikes right up to your long travel 180mm travel freeride bikes. The main difference between your air and your coil fork is in the left hand leg. Instead of having a coil spring in it, there's an air chamber basically sealed so no air can escape. You've got a valve at the top here where you put in a set PSI in regards to your body weight. The upside to these is they're very lightweight. They're a lot easier to set up for a specific rider's weight than a coil fork. The downside is they're not quite as plush through the travel as most coil units. Now we'll talk about axles. There's three types. You've got your 9mm quick release, QR15 and your 20mm bolt throughs. All three of these are very different and designed for different things. We'll start with the 9mm quick release. These tend to be found mainly on cross-country bikes or your cheaper end of the market. They're designed so the wheel slots in the bottom and then you just use a quick release skew to tighten it up. The downside to this system is you do get a lot of flex in the fork, so they tend not to be quite as good tracking when you do stick them through the rougher stuff. Your QR15 is probably the most widely used at the moment. This is a bolt-through system, but using a much thinner skew than the 20mm next to it. These are very common on trail bikes at the moment. The upside to running a bolt-through system is it does stop any sort of flex in the bottom of the fork, so it does stiffen everything up and your wheel goes where you want it to when you turn the bars through the rougher stuff. Up to the 20mm bolt-through, you tend to find these mainly on downhill bikes and kind of long travel single crown forks. Once again, similar system to the QR15, but using a much bigger axle, so there's even less flex in the front end. If you're going down a hill at 30 miles an hour, you want the wheel to be going in the right direction. Now we'll talk about steerer tubes. In front of me are the two most widely used designs. At the back, you've got the 1 1/8, and then up front, you've got a 1.5 to 1 1/8 tapered. The 1 1/8 has always been the most popular size up until about 2 years ago. These fit standard headsets, standard stems. The newer bikes tend to come with the tapered systems, so they'll still fit a standard 1 1/8 stem on the end, but you do need a frame which is compatible with a tapered head tube. 1.5 inch at the bottom tends to increase stiffness of the fork, and you're not getting quite as much wear or damage out the bottom cup. But keep it light, taper it off to 1 1/8, and the upside to that is you can still use all the standard stems on the market at the moment. Now we'll talk about lockout and compression circuits. In front of me is a pair of base model Rockshox Xc 30TK coil sprung forks. On the top of the right hand leg we have a lockout lever here. At the moment they're full open, so the forks will perform as they're meant to. By flicking that lever you lock them out, so better for climbing for smoother surfaces. The levers I've just moved in front of you in essence run exactly the same system, but instead of having a manual lockout where you have to reach down, these are on a remote system. This little lever here mounts to your handlebars. If you want to lock your fork out, you press the lever down, and then to release it, use the thumb button there. Some of the more expensive forks on the market come with a little bit more than just a standard lockout system. For instance, these new forks in front of me now come with a CTD system, which stands for Climb, Trail, Descend. It's basically a three-stage pro pedal system for your forks. At the moment, they're in the descend mode, so those forks are fully open. Now if you was to flick it down to the trail mode, it basically puts it in a medium low speed compression format, so it slows them a little bit but not a massive amount. In the climb mode, that is in essence a lockout, so it slows your low speed compression right down. The totems I've got sat in front of me here don't actually come with a lockout at all. Your bigger hitting 180mm travel forks, even some of the 160s, and a lot of your dual crown forks come with a high speed and a low speed compression setting instead. The blue dial on the bottom here is your high speed compression. That basically controls the damping for your bigger hits, so you can set it up so it's a little bit stiffer in the top end of the travel if you drop it off something quite high or you hit a really rocky section. The silver one on top is your low speed compression. Now these tend to control your smaller bumps, so just as you're riding along a trail, how the fork tracks over the ground. Once again, that can be set up so it can be quite hard or it can be relatively soft depending on your style of riding. So now we've gone through all the basic features you'll find on forks, we'll actually look at what's available on the market, starting from lower travel 100mm right up to your longer travel 200mm forks. We'll start with your 100mm travel cross-country style forks. As you can see with these, they're designed to be very lightweight, standard 9mm drop out on them, solo air system. You've also got handlebar mounted lockout standard on most of these. Now this is a 1 1/8 steerer, but you are still getting quite a lot of them now coming with the tapered unit. Getting onto your longer travel 120, 130mm travel forks, getting some pretty big changes over the shorter travel versions we just looked at. QR15 axles are becoming standard on these now, as are the tapered steerers, although you can still get them in a standard 1 1/8. On the foxes I've got in front of me as well, you are getting a Kashima coating, which is available on their higher end forks. Basically, the coating decreases stiction between the top of the seals and the actual upper legs, so they're a little bit plusher through the lower end of the travel. Also, these are a thick cartridge fork, which instead of having a single bath where your oil and your air mix, the oil and the air are kept separately. Once again, makes a big difference to the low speed compression and your small bump sensitivity. On the slightly longer travel forks, 140 to 150mm, there's a couple of subtle changes. They still come with a QR15 axle. These ones have a tapered steerer, but once again still available with a 1 1/8 steerer. The main difference between these and the 120, 130mm travel forks is the stanchions. Now these come as a 32 on the Rockshox, but Fox do offer a 34mm stanchion, with them being slightly bigger, slightly stiffer, so they're not quite as flexy down the trail. Getting into your longer travel 160, 180mm forks, things really start to change. First thing you'll notice is the axle setup. These run a 20mm axle on them rather than a QR15 or a quick release. The 20mm setup you got here is a bolt-in, so you screw it across the fork and then you use these two levers to basically bolt it down. Mazzocchi use 4mm Allen key bolts, whereas Rockshox still use their Maxwell system. The other thing is the stanchion size. 36mm stanchions and even 40mm is standard on the fork of this kind of travel. Rockshox still use a 40mm on their totems, 36 on their lyrics, and the Foxes use 36s all round for theirs. Other thing is tapered steerer is standard on these now. The top of pile, you've got your downhill forks. These tend to be 200mm travel plus. Now also they have a dual crown setup on them rather than a single crown for that added stiffness, so they don't tend to use a tapered steerer on these standard 1 1/8. They also have a facility to directly bolt this stem to the top crown, thus increasing stiffness. Down the bottom you've got a 20mm bolt through axle on them. You won't find any Maxwells or Maxwell lights on these. You tend to find that you have to install them with a tool for added security, so most come with either pinch bolts or with these boxes, the downhill Maxwells as standard. 35mm stanchions on the boxes in front of me, but we'll go right up to a 40mm stanchion on the Fox 40s, and you tend to find that these are coil sprung as standard. Very rarely do you find any air springs. So there you go. Hopefully we covered all the questions you had in regards to suspension in this video. If you've got any questions or queries in regards to any of the products we sell, you can always give us a call on 01274 588 488, or you can email us at sales@allterraincycles.co.uk.